Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today we're diving deep into one of the most dramatic political showdowns in South Africa, the Presidency versus former President Jacob Zuma, in a courtroom clash worth over R28 million. Yes, you heard that right. The man once called the people's president is now being told by his own government to pay back taxpayer money used to fund his long list of corruption-related court battles. And this time, the fight is unfolding right in the Pretoria High Court. This isn't just another political headline. It's a case that could change how South Africa handles political accountability forever. On one side, the presidency insists that Zuma must return the money because taxpayers should not be forced to fund his personal legal fights. On the other, Zuma's legal team argues that the state willingly covered those costs when he was president, and that trying to recover them now is nothing short of political vengeance. Let's take a step back. Over the years, Zuma's name has been tied to corruption scandals, from the 1999 arms deal to his later years in office when state capture became a national crisis. To defend himself, Zuma's legal battles have dragged on for more than a decade, and those battles were not cheap. It's estimated that over R28 million in public funds went into paying his private legal fees. For years, nobody challenged the arrangement. But when the tide turned in 2018, civil society and opposition parties demanded answers. Why were ordinary South Africans, who can barely afford rising taxes and electricity bills, paying for one man's endless court appeals? The courts eventually ruled that the payments were unlawful and ordered Zuma to pay back every cent. Now, fast forward to today, Zuma is back in court, arguing that the government's demand is unreasonable. His team says he didn't sign off the payments himself and that the decision was made by officials who approved it legally at the time. The presidency, however, insists that public funds cannot be treated like a personal checkbook, no matter who approved it. What makes this case so important is not just the money. It's what it represents. A loss for Zuma could send a powerful message to every politician who has ever abused state resources for personal reasons, that the gravy train has officially stopped. But if he wins, critics fear it could send the opposite message, that powerful politicians can bend the system and still get away with it. And here's where things get emotional. To Zuma's supporters, this isn't justice, it's persecution. They see him as a victim of political double standards, a man hunted by the very establishment he once led. In their eyes, the courts, the media, and even the presidency are all working together to destroy him. Social media is flooded with hashtags defending him, with users saying, he has already paid enough. But his critics see things differently. They believe Zuma symbolizes the corruption that drained South Africa's economy and crippled public trust in government. They say forcing him to repay the R28 million is not revenge, it's accountability. For them, this case is a test of whether South Africa truly believes in equality before the law. Inside the courtroom, the tension is heavy. Zuma's lawyers have argued that this case is political theater. The presidency, meanwhile, insists it's about restoring integrity to public finances. Every argument, every exchange, feels like a battle for the soul of the nation, a reminder of how deeply divided South Africa remains. Outside the courthouse, the public debate rages on. Some South Africans say Zuma's situation exposes the hypocrisy of the political elite, because he's not the only one who used state money for personal benefit. Others believe this could be a turning point, where the state finally stops shielding the powerful from consequences. The irony is that Zuma, once the country's most powerful man, now stands before the same justice system he often defied. His supporters still cheer for him, but the aura of untouchability that once surrounded him has begun to fade. What remains is a man fighting not just for money, but for dignity, and maybe revenge. Analysts have warned that if Zuma loses, the ruling could have ripple effects across the political landscape. Other leaders might be called to repay funds misused during their terms, shaking the foundations of political privilege. Imagine ministers or premiers being told to return millions, the panic would spread like wildfire. But if Zuma somehow wins, it might embolden others to think they too can use public money without consequence. And of course, there's the public sentiment, tired, frustrated, and skeptical. For years, ordinary South Africans have watched scandals unfold while services collapse, jobs vanish, and promises of reform fall flat. To many, Zuma's trial feels like déjà vu, another elite courtroom drama while daily struggles continue. Still, Zuma's resilience can't be ignored. Time and again, he's managed to survive political storms that would have destroyed most leaders. He's been removed from office, jailed, released, and yet somehow remains politically relevant. His name still commands loyalty in parts of KwaZulu-Natal, and his defiance still inspires his base. As one supporter outside court said, Zuma doesn't lose, he delays victory. But even with that loyal following, the legal pressure is real. If the court rules against him, he could face asset seizures or enforcement orders to recover the R28 million. It would mark one of the few times in South African history that a former president is held financially accountable for his actions. Beyond the legal battle, this story raises a bigger question: what does justice mean in a country where corruption has cost billions and yet so few are punished? South Africans are watching this case not just for Zuma's fate, but for what it says about the future of governance. Is the age of political immunity truly over? Or will this just be another headline that fades away? Whatever happens, one thing is clear: Jacob Zuma remains one of the most polarizing figures in modern South Africa. Loved by some, loathed by others, but never ignored. Whether he pays or not, his legacy will continue to shape how South Africans view power, justice, and accountability. So, what do you think? Should Zuma be forced to pay back the R28 million? Or is this a case of political revenge disguised as justice? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. We've got more stories coming your way as South Africa's political drama continues to unfold. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay informed, stay sharp, and see you next time.